Hello and welcome to Radical Disruption. I am your host, Maya Nicole, and this is part 2 of the 4-part series on Instagram sales skills. And I'm going to be talking to you in this episode about taking any day-to-day life story, even the most mundane of stories, and using it to sell your offer. And this, in my opinion, is one of the best sales skills that you can possibly have. And also, in my opinion, one of the most fun sales skills that you can have because it's really challenging. It's challenging to take a story and turn it into a sales story, and not challenging in the sense of like you can't do it, but like it's just like a fun challenge. Like I think of it almost like a game where it's this almost like the eye of the storm. That's like where things are calming, like it's a step away from a hectic day. And I took that concept and I tied that into crochet being the same thing, where it is a creative outlet where you're able to express yourself and find that peace in what can be a hectic day. So again, it's such a fun challenge to take that random story and tie it into whatever your niche is and the offers that you're selling. Okay, I'm going to give you another example. So this is example number 2. The niche that I was given, and again, these were submitted by people in my community. The niche that I was given is teaching dyslexic children, and I created structured literacy courses. And then the story that was given to me is I wrote out my shopping list and I left it at home. So how can I take that niche and that story and tie that into creating a sales story? Here's the story. Yesterday, I meticulously wrote out my shopping list, making sure to include everything that we needed for the week. But as soon as I arrived at the store, I realized I had left the list at home. This experience reminded me of how crucial structure and organization are, not just in everyday tasks like shopping, but also in learning, especially for dyslexic children. Just as my shopping list provides guidance and clarity, structured literacy resources offer dyslexic students the support that they need to navigate reading and writing effectively. That's why I created structured literacy resources tailored specifically for dyslexic children. These resources provide a clear, organized approach to learning, helping students build confidence and master skills step by step. So again, it was taking the concept of the shopping list having this structure and talking about how structure is important for dyslexic children, right? And what would this look like on Instagram stories? Like how, and this also too doesn't just have to be an Instagram story. You could definitely turn this into an email as well, and really any place that you want to market your offer. But for me, when I think about selling, I'm mainly usually thinking about Instagram stories because that's just where my brain goes for first. But also selling on emails is also very amazing, and emails often actually will have higher conversions too. So definitely make sure you're selling on emails too. But what would this look like in terms of Instagram stories? So how I visualize this would be an Instagram story that is maybe like a picture of your shopping list. And when you get home from the store, you can take a picture of that shopping list. And that's where on that shopping list story, you would say, yesterday, I meticulously wrote out my shopping list, making sure to include everything that we needed for the week. But as soon as I arrived at the store, I realized I had left the list at home. So that's story number 1 with that text. Then story number 2 could maybe be a different picture, or it could be like using the transparent overlay. You see me do that a lot, where I'll download the story and I'll upload it again using the transparent like drawing tool. And then you can add in more text. And so then that text on top of it would be where you tie in the structure of the shopping list to how dyslexic children need structured resources as well. And then another story after that. So this would be like a 3-part story. The third story would have your link to your offer, where you talk a little bit more about the resources that you have created for dyslexic children. So you can see how it's like there's the first story, which is your shopping list, and you're only talking about your shopping list, and people are like, oh my gosh, like I can totally relate to that shopping list, right? And then you tie that into dyslexic children, and then the third story would be where you actually pitch the offer. Now, if you're going to do this inside of an email, the way that I would do this is just copying and pasting that same exact story, but at the very top of the email, I would have probably some sort of like visual graphic, whether that be a picture of your shopping list or something that people can relate to. Also adding in this too, I should say, this is like me having zero idea what these offers actually are. Like I'm totally just making up a lot of these stories here. And so there's probably some things that are not totally factually correct here. So obviously, definitely you need to make sure that it's like factually correct for your niche when you're writing out your sales story, but also to adding in your own language. If it's like in an email, you might say, I realized I had left my list at home, and you could say, have you ever done this? Reply yes to this email if you've ever done that, or something along those lines where you can make it a little bit more interactive. But anyways, that's just an idea of how you can utilize that for email. Now, let me give you example number 3. So the story that I was given with this is, what is food shopping day when you only have one banana left? And then the niche is helping women balance hormones. Now, the sales story that I created based off of food shopping day and balancing hormones is, have you ever noticed how we sometimes push things to the limit, like waiting until the pantry is empty or driving our car until the gas tank is almost on empty before we take action? While it might be tempting to see how far we can go, this approach isn't ideal when it comes to our health. Just like a car needs fuel to run smoothly, our bodies need the right balance of nutrients to help keep our hormones in check. Waiting until you're running on empty, experiencing fatigue, mood swings, or other symptoms is not the way to maintain hormonal health. Instead, proactively fueling your body with the right foods and lifestyle choices can prevent these issues before they start. In my course on balancing hormones, and then you can obviously go off and talk about more about what's included in your course on balancing hormones, and then you can tie it back in even inside of that Instagram story too. And you can say, don't wait for a low fuel warning. Take charge of your health now and feel the difference in your energy, mood, and overall well-being. So again, I can take any story, even the most random story. Like, I had people who were submitting things to me. This is just 3 examples, but I had a whole bunch of people who were submitting things, and they're like, oh, is this too random? And I'm like, girl, no, this is not too random. Send it my way. I'm going to take that. And I love a good challenge. So and I actually didn't prepare this in terms of my outline for this episode, but I think it would be fun. Let me find something really random. Let's see, what can I turn into? Ooh, okay. This, again, I totally did not prepare this, but how could I take someone mowing their lawn and turn that into a sales story about my business? Okay, mowing a lawn. Someone in my neighborhood's mowing the lawn just down the street. So that's what made me think of it as I'm looking out my window. How can I tie that in? Let's see. Here, and again, this is where the fun challenge comes in. There's always something that you can tie it into. Okay. My window is completely open, and I oftentimes will film my content right in front of my window. You can actually see, if you're driving on the street outside, you can see into my office, especially because I have like my huge ring light. I was walking on the street the other day pushing Remy in the stroller, and I was looking up and I was like, wow, you can literally see everything inside of my office. So people who are driving by, the person who's mowing their lawn right now can definitely see me inside my office. And I could talk about how we can sometimes get scared when we go to create content when people can see us, right? Whether you're creating content in public or whether it's you posting that content on your social media account and worrying about what people might think of you, right? If you have people who, follow you on Instagram from high school, like, what are they going to think about me if I post this piece of content, right? The fear of being seen. And I could take this message of this person on the lawnmower, and I've actually truthfully have had this happen to me before, where I'm sitting there filming in front of my window, and I know the people inside my neighborhood, right? Like, when they look up, they know that it's me. And I've had many moments where I have like totally been like, oh my gosh, did they just see me? And that fear of being seen, but it's like taking control and having confidence in what it is that I'm doing, the impact that I'm making. And I can talk about how important it is when we go to create content to have confidence in the things that we are putting out there, and how brave we are to put something out into the world, because there are so many people who are not brave enough to do that because they have that fear of being seen, and like how powerful it is that you are willing to put yourself out there. And I can talk about the power of that and connecting that into IG University, where I talk about how to become confident with your content skills, right? Because it takes practice. And so I talk about practicing in the right things, right? You can be practicing in all the wrong things and not get to where you want to go, but talking about practicing in the right ways and building that confidence that you don't freeze up when someone sees you creating content, or you don't freeze up when it comes to posting that content on Instagram, because you are confident in what you're putting out there and knowing the message is going to land with the people that it needs to land to, right? So that was my that was totally not planned. That was my random story that I just took my niche. I just took that random, who knows, mundane, everyday story of someone mowing the lawn in my neighborhood, and I tied that back into my niche. Why is this a powerful way to sell? The mundane story is what people relate to. The person that's mowing their lawn in my neighborhood, like, you can, whether you've mowed the lawn or not, whether you live in a neighborhood or not, like, you can visualize, you can picture what that is, right? And you can relate to that. Whether you've done it or not, you can relate to that. And then you're using that situation that someone can relate to, and you're tying it into your offer, which creates an emotional connection to your offer. And it's taking this in our, I'm not saying your offer is complex, but it's almost like taking this complex idea and like simplifying it and breaking it down in a way that people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally get that. So that's what taking a mundane story and turning it into a sales story can do. And that's just one example. Another thing that these types of stories can do: evoke emotion. And people buy based off of emotion, right? When they feel emotionally moved in some sort of way, that is what is going to trigger them to purchase, right? And stories do that for people. And if that isn't enough to convince you, something else that's really powerful about this is the flow of like how this works on your Instagram stories. And also too, if you're selling your email, again, wherever you're selling, this works for any places that you're selling, but it's such an authentic way to sell where it's like, hey, let me tell you this story. And this story actually has obviously happened in your day-to-day life. You're like, hey, today this happened. Can you relate to this? Yes or no? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, I can relate to that. I totally have been there. Like, even just me yesterday, I posted on my Instagram stories about the Apple mouse and how you have to charge the Apple mouse on the very bottom. Like, you have to plug it in on the bottom so you can actually use the mouse when you're charging it. Dumbest design in the entire world, in my opinion. So off-brand for Apple, which all of their products are amazing, except for their mouse. But anyways, I posted that on Instagram stories, and so many people were like, oh my gosh, I can relate to this. And so I could have taken that story that so many people can relate to, where this is so frustrating, and maybe I could have tied that into your customer experience. And maybe I have an offer that talks about customer experience, which I do. And so I could have used that as a way to sell. It's taking this thing, this story that we have, and again, it's something that seems so mundane. Oh my gosh, I'm just charging my mouse, right? Like, there's nothing exciting about that story, but I can use that and I can take that moment that people can relate to and I can flow that into a sales message. And it is such an easy flow where, like, sometimes people don't even realize that they're actually being pitched because it's not a pitch. You're just telling a story, which is really powerful. Now, I usually try to sell in this way, like with this sales story, at least one time a week. And I don't personally plan out this type of story in advance. I'm just going to pay attention to different situations that make me think of like my business. And then I'm going to challenge myself to relate it to an offer. All that being said, though, if you're like, this is a new skill to me, how can I improve this skill? Maybe what you do is at the end of the week, like maybe on a Friday, you reflect back on the week and the different, again, just like mundane little things that have happened throughout the week. And you challenge yourself to take one of those things and use that story to then sell your offer on a Friday. So it could be like, oh, yesterday XYZ happened. And then you can use that story, tell that story on your Instagram stories, and then use that to lead into your sales story. Now, how can you get better at this skill of turning a mundane story into a sales story? Practice. I know it's not what you want to hear, but really, truly practice, but also ChatGPT. It is literally the best. So what you can type into ChatGPT is whatever your mundane story is, and then type in your niche and then some information about your offer. And even I would say it'd be good to type in some information about who your ideal client avatar is, and then ask it to take that story and turn it into a sales story. Now, side note here, you might need to give it an example of what you mean by a sales story. So you could say, hey, this is a story that I took and I turned this into a sales story. So just giving it an example of what that looks might actually give you a better output from ChatGPT. So play around with that a little bit. But if you're like, I don't even know where to even get started, play around with that. I will use it sometimes to turn a story into a mundane story into a sales story. Usually it's pretty good about it. But sometimes I'll get like a story that just doesn't even flow and make sense. And so I'll sometimes just ask it to repopulate with a different story. And then sometimes I'll take different bits and pieces of the like outputs that it's given me and turn it into maybe one of my own stories. I've only done that a few times where I was like, ooh, I'm stumped on this and like I need a little bit of help, but I'm going to go to ChatGPT because I'm not backing down from a challenge, but I just might need a little bit of support while I'm navigating that challenge. So ChatGPT is a really good one. But again, just practice. Like, just really challenge yourself at least one time a day. And you don't even have to post this on Instagram stories, but challenge yourself where it's like, hey, what is one random thing that happened today? Can I relay that back to my offer in some sort of way? Now, that is it for today's episode. But in the next episode, I'm going to share about hard versus soft selling, and why both of them are important and when to be posting those. But if you want more sales support right now, check out the show notes for links to my 3-part masterclass, Stories That Sell, the Story Template Bundle, which is a 160 plus plug and play Canva template bundle to help you to sell your offers on Instagram stories, and also 30 free selling on story prompts to help you think outside of the box when it comes to selling your offer. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you on part 3.